warm welcome to our viewers from myself, Roberta Lepre from Weave Consulting, the CSR specialist, and also from my co-host, Nadia Pans, business consultant, for this latest edition of Insights Malta Ghana series. And for those who are joining us for the first time today, Insights is an initiative aimed at inspiring and supporting entrepreneurs through the sharing of knowledge and best practices, and also fostering cross-fertilization of ideas. And to enrich our discussion today, we have two very esteemed guests, Mr. Celestino Alvarez-Neira, Chairman of the European Business Organization in Ghana, as well as Sir David Xuereb, the very dynamic President of the Malta Chamber of Commerce. Last but not least, our resident guest, Chris Butterfield-Elbridge from Evolve Limited. Welcome everyone, and thank you very much for finding the time to be here with us today. Perhaps Mr. Alvarez-Neira, perhaps we can start with you. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the work of your organization and its mission and objectives?
Sure, with pleasure. Well, thank you very much, Roberta. My name is Celestino Alvarez-Neira, and I'm presiding the European Business Organization in Ghana. EBO, European Business Organization, is a vast network of European chambers of commerce outside of Europe. We have today in the network 57 branches, out of which 11 are in Africa. So it's composed either of bilateral national chambers and sometimes also large European companies operating in the countries. The very interesting part of the EBO is that it's really composed of people that are operating from the field, companies and businessmen who are in the field, facing daily challenges, knowing the market extremely well, and being able to give a point of view and feedback to European institutions and European companies from a very practical, pragmatic point of view. This is the main advantage we have. In Europe, as you know, there are several European business institutions that are operating out of Europe without maybe a leg in the countries of interest. We are very much the contrary. We are present 100% in the countries of interest, and we are feeding information, practical information to European businesses in the clearest and most pragmatic and balanced way. So here in Ghana, we are a Chamber of Chambers. In the board, we have the Chambers of Commerce of countries such as France, Spain, UK still, Germany, Netherlands, Hungary, Denmark, and soon Malta, I hope, once the Chamber of Commerce of Malta in Ghana is established. And we work very closely with the European embassies which are present in this country, including, for that sake, the Embassy of Malta in Ghana. And we are assisting as much as we can in what we call commonly the economic diplomacy, generating reports, helping companies pass a message to the government of Ghana and secure businesses for them.
Thank you. Impressive mandate. So a lot of work on your lap, I guess. Mr. Xuereb, perhaps for the benefit of those who are not acquainted so much with the work of the Chamber, would you like to give us just a very quick overview?
Okay, thanks, Roberta. Thank you all. Nice to see you all today. Yes, the Chamber of Commerce is, of course, we call ourselves the voice of business. And when we talk about business, we do not necessarily imply revenue, money, or profits or revenue, but we also talk about the quality of life of our country that leads to sustainable business. We represent pretty much all sectors of the economy of our country and represent the largest to the smallest sizes of business organizations in Malta. We represent pretty much more than 80% of employment, if you like, people employed with business. We have we are structured in a manner which is pretty interesting. representation is in the form of three verticals: the services area, the manufacturing area, and also the retail area. But then the real business of the chamber happens through horizontal thematics that focus on specific themes that are a priority for the sustainable development and maintenance of our economy. And that is generating a lot of energy coming not only from chamber staff, but also from the chamber members that contribute towards the thinking that is pretty much cutting edge and therefore drives and lobbies the country and its legislation in the appropriate direction. So of course, what we have been doing as of late, chamber is 172 years old here. I don't look 172, I know, but that's the age of the chamber. However, if I had to look at what happened in the last couple of months, we have been taking advantage, if you like, of a major disruptor, which is called COVID, it's clear. And rather than simply seek the interests of the business community and what we need to do to preserve what it is that was driving our economy, is also to think outside the box and to challenge the thinkers in our country, certainly the policymakers and the legislators, the politicians, to be able to make those necessary changes that will ensure that our economy remains at the top of at the edge, at the top of its course, keeping in mind that this disruptor has affected all other countries. So here, the Chamber of Commerce, therefore, is yes a cohort of the top business people in Malta, whether small, large, or medium, in all areas of the industry, having therefore the best melting pot of ideas to be able to promote the best suggestions and solutions that will project quality of life in our country through an improved economy.
Talking about thinking outside the box and the disruption caused by COVID, I think you would agree with me that business is all about building relationships and nurturing those relationships. And obviously the pandemic has impacted our ability to do that, in the sense that we are limited as to how much we can network, how much we can interact, how much we can travel as well, looking at doing business at a cross-border level. So how does one go about doing business still in the light of these disruptions?
May I say something about this?
Okay, please. I wasn't sure who the question was focused at, so I was going about
no problem.
It's your way.
I think as a business operating in both Malta and Ghana, I can give a practical view of how we are tackling and what we're doing. First of all, there is what you exactly said. The physical presence with traveling is disrupted completely, which means that how do we be in the country with two things, digitally and through partners. Digitally, obviously, every company has to market itself and so on. We all know what we need to do. With partners, there comes the EBO, there comes the chamber, which obviously can help find the right people, can help make the connections. And actually, if we were thinking of this before, now it's accelerated. So for the people, I'm like-minded with David here, that COVID is an accelerator. Practically, it creates opportunities for us to internationalize and digitalize faster than our plans were before. Because now it is a necessity. It is not only a luxury or an additional thing. Now you need to do it. So that is how we as a business have been going about it. And I am sure that the Chamber of Commerce in Malta, as well as the BO, this is their mandate. This is what they do. They bring people together. They, lobby for them. So this is exactly the type of people and organizations that need to help businesses like ours thrive in both countries.
Shall I?
Go ahead.
Okay, this is a really, really interesting subject. And I say interesting because I don't have a magical solution, but certainly very topical to consider, to discuss, be sensitive, and then address. I am faced, I have to admit, I am faced with a serious number of business entrepreneurs who still yearn the ability to conduct business and close business development opportunities in the manner that we used to before COVID. And there still seems to be, probably this is not just Malta, I would assume throughout the world, still a wish and an ambition to come back to what we used to call normality in the shortest period of time. Now, whether it's because we've learned how to deal with the virus, or because we have achieved herd immunity, or because we are vaccinated and assuming that that would work. So a lot of ifs, certainly no certainties. And this is therefore our ability to live with COVID and conduct our business in a manner that is COVID friendly, if that is the term, is really a challenge. When we talk about business with other countries, including Ghana, certainly, as Chris rightfully said, not being not able to travel to the country, to interact with the people, to understand their emotions, to develop the relationship, to develop the trust that eventually would lead to a business relationship that would develop wealth and wellness to the people in both countries ultimately, is no longer possible as we knew it. Of course, we then realized that we could use Zoom, or we could use Teams or Skype or what have you. Fine. But of course, the ability to use those soft skills that we were used to, we were good at, and were part and parcel and integral to the manner with which we used to relate to each other is gone. It's the screen is a very cold environment to relate with and to. It's great because you get a lot of things done, but a lot remains missing. So of course, the sensitivity to realize that those missing parts need to be aware. Need to be made aware of the people conducting that communication. Certainly the fact that beyond the screen, the cold screen, there's also a difference in culture, a difference on the way people use words, on people how to interact, how to interpret emotion and reaction, facial, body language. That's hard. And until such time as we actually do travel to other countries, we were going to have to be trained. And let's not kid ourselves, this is not going to come natural to us. We're going to have to train ourselves to be good at filling in those gaps by means of the skills we're able to learn in the light of the technologies and the abilities that we have available to us. So when we talk about internationalization, apart from choosing which countries we work with, and as we all know, Ghana, through the Chamber of Commerce, through Trade Malta, and also through the priorities that our government is giving in the way we reach out. And thank goodness we are prioritizing our limited efforts to specific locations, and Ghana is one of them. And thanks to the ambassador in Ghana, Jean-Claude, who I salute from here, is doing a brilliant job. Is what is getting us to focus, but what we need to fill in now are all those other missing parts that will remain missing until such time as we're able to potentially, if ever, start traveling like we used to. And therefore, if we are sensitive, therefore we need to be humble and realize that we need help. And that help can only come through, of course, seeking the experts, understanding that we need expert support and help, collateral that will enable us to do what we used to do in a different way. And let's not assume that doing it in a slight different way, but just by interacting on a Zoom call or a Teams event is going to be enough, especially when we're dealing with complicated cultures. So the Chamber is taking initiative, maybe this was the reason why you asked, the Chamber is taking initiative through its internationalization desk, not only to get countries closer to each other and get chambers of commerce closer to each other and sign MOUs. Virtually, we're doing that too. That's great. But we also need to support the people who actually close the business deals, the business development directors, the salespeople, and so on, to have whatever it takes to ensure that they are not missing out or not misinterpreting, if you like, the relationship that they are eager to develop to ensure that a business deal is actually closed and therefore the rest then follows.
Very interesting indeed. Mr. Celestino, do you share the same sentiment as Mr. Xuereb? What is
yes, absolutely. Indeed. There are two aspects of it, really. There's an internal and external aspect, right? Internally, I mean, we remote working, flexible hours. This is a common practice in modern days. Now we are getting used to it more and more, and I think it's going to be here for the long run. In the workplace now, we are experimenting social media, new technologies, the use of these technologies to communicate within ourselves, within a company or institution, and that brings advantages and inconvenience, which we all know, right? We are obviously saving some cost in traveling. We are able to work with people remotely located, and we are not measured anymore. Our performance is not measured anymore in the attendance in the office. Before, we were in the office from 9 to 6, and that was the unit of measure of a worker. Now we will be able, obviously, to introduce KPIs, objectives, which will have to be very, very well managed and by the people in charge. Now, culturally speaking, from an external point of view, Ghana it's actually a very important point for Ghana. Ghana, culturally speaking, is a country where people do interact a lot, where like in several Mediterranean countries as well, where these interactions are very, very important in order to establish a relationship, to reinforce a relationship. We like to meet people. We like to go out with them for lunches, dinners, drinks, visit to the offices, and that builds the relationship, which is something we're not going to be able to do, obviously, like David was saying, from a screen. Separating us. We don't feel the emotions. We lose a lot of senses, of touching, of feeling, smelling, you know, and we just adapt now to new senses, which are more hearing, listening, adapting to this new reality. So for countries where culturally speaking the contact is important, there are a lot that have this importance. Some don't. It's going to be a challenge. Now, there's another particularity in Ghana, in Africa in general, is that you often have to be present and push for things to happen. You have to keep on visiting your clients. You have to keep on visiting your suppliers or government bodies to get paper done work, to follow up constantly, daily by pushing the people. And that is becoming a big problem using Zoom, WebEx, and all these interactive tools, because people are obviously not responding as well to a screen than to a physical presence.
I can assure you we have similar problems in Malta when it comes to certain departments. Things have been stalled for 6 months, so it's a common problem everywhere, I think.
Might not be the same in America, maybe, where people react more to emails. There's so many different cultural differences. A British will use the humor. A Chinese, you don't close a business with a Chinese without having a heavy lunch within. Same in Spain. So, yes.
How do you close business in Ghana?
Yeah, that's right. So the different cultural differences that we have to manage well and try to, maybe we will end up having lunches in front of our computer.
Something we most probably have to adapt to, indeed. Yeah. And I share your everyone's sentiment over here, because my background is in business development, and I must say that I do miss traveling quite a lot. And indeed, most of the business deals usually used to happen outside of the office, and then the office used to sign on the dotted line when it comes to the legal framework, so to speak. So definitely I must admit, I'm finding it quite challenging, even though I don't have an issue to have a conversation over the camera. However, when it comes even just a solo, I freeze, I must admit. So when I see I have to speak on a camera on my own, I find it quite difficult and quite challenging. So perhaps even the training and the tools we look for they must be even different. The generic training, it's not about teaching one how to sell perhaps, or even the cultural aspects, yes, we can get there. But how are we going to overcome that fear? That basically it's like we're there and we need to communicate in a different way, in a different manner, whether the light is okay, and whether you're emanating this trust that you need to emanate to you behind the camera. So what do you think, which are the tools besides the Zoom and the Teams and the myriad of other platforms that are available? Which type of training?
If I may on this, very super interesting observation. I cannot agree with you more. It's just that in my opinion, what we need to do, and this is what we're trying to do as a Chamber of Commerce, is again to think outside the box. Now, when there is a problem or when there's a disruption, any entrepreneur should look at that as an opportunity. Now, disruption of not able to travel, we've said, is a problem. However, there are opportunities as long as one is sensitive enough to the limitations, as you put them, Nadia, and find the solutions. Now, let's look at Malta as a small country. I'm sure it's the same in all countries. So Malta has a problem with its current economy, with its tourism, with its industry, people working from home. There are advantages and disadvantages working from home, especially when one looks at the disruption even in the way society works, but that's maybe another subject for another day, which is actually quite interesting to discuss and be sensitive to. However, when we talk about limitations or inability or lack of skills in a way when one is in front of a camera, especially if there's no audience, let alone interpreting emotion of others, especially when you're not seeing others, that's even worse, as you said. We are living in a country where some industries have a problem, have a limitation with skills like this, and there are other industries who are full of those skills and have limited amount of things to do. So the Chamber, as you might have picked up, is supporting the arts and the entertainment industry. About 1,000, now for Malta is a big number, 1,400, even up to 6,000 potential members, if you look at the part-timers and all that. These are people who, in their spare time or in their full time, spend time doing exactly what we are doing. That is, you know, speak to a camera or engage with emotions that you're not able to see, or use senses more than others to be able to engage and be impactful. That's what these people do, of course, in an entertainment environment. And here we are in a situation where business and community and schooling and education and all those other activities that are so important to us need the skills of that part of our organization that has limited amounts of things to do for obvious reasons, social distancing and so on is not enabling them to conduct much economic activity, but have the skills to be able to enable us to be better at what we feel we are weak at. So if one thinks outside the box and one need and another need actually put together makes a win-win situation here. All we need is our ability not to box industry up in certain ways, not to have CEOs, you know, or CFOs or business development directors to assume that they will be doing or leading their businesses in the same way, be humble enough to understand where the limitations are, and seek the resources to address those limitations. And as I said, these limitations exist. What we're trying to do as a chamber is to try and voice these high-level opportunities for then individual businesses to connect up and eventually do business and ultimately up their game. This is really, really, really interesting. It's the same with people working from home and whether, you know, Zoom or Teams or what have you, teleworking is enough. Some people think it's just a question of money and who pays for air conditioning, who pays for the chair, or who pays for health and safety. That is a very limited way of looking at what the real issues with teleworking is really about. Celestino, of course, rightfully pointed at CEOs and CFOs and managers being able to measure output, not solely on the basis of time, but more on the basis of KPIs, as Celestino said. And that's where the difficulty is. We need to train our middle management, our management, to start to enable to trust their people, and they trust them because they know what to expect rather than simply looking at whether somebody's in at 8 and out at 4:30 or 5. That's easy. I mean, being able to measure output on a day-to-day basis, even if remotely, is harder, but that's what managers need to be trained at. Sorry, I want to stop here. Otherwise, I'll keep rolling.
Indeed.
Extremely interesting.
Mr. Celestino, do you find the same similarities, perhaps, collaboration across industries, where one industry helping another, even in Ghana, within the Ghana context?
Yeah, it's very much industrial. It's a focus on industry we need to have. We did the same with the chambers that are part of EBO. Some industries can actually manage the current situation. Some others can't, obviously. I mean, hospitality, tourism, there's nothing much we can do. We cannot get a tan on somebody through a screen. We cannot, we can eventually organize virtual visits, but that's quite limited. Some industries, of course, are seizing the opportunity to change the way they're working, and there are a lot of opportunities for them to do that. Ultimately, it will increase the communication skills of each person. It's not easy to be in front of a screen and speak during a few minutes without a two-way communication with a person, which happens in each physical interaction. We interrupt the other person, we comment, we have a body language that adds to the conversation or not. It's quite a challenge to express an idea, to push a thought to a group of people through a screen. But that's a skill that's going to have to be developed in the corporate world, and it's actually great. It's a great opportunity for all interlocutors to actually develop this skill with maybe a particular attention to what surrounds them, to the background appearance, to the body language, because now we are left with these two senses, which are hearing and the hearing and the vision. We have to capitalize on that and make the most of it.
I predict that the evolution of the camera is going to be to full body. So rather than just seeing the face like this, it'll be like something, you know, much further back, where you can see the body posture, where you can actually communicate with your entire body, which is very important. Maybe a room view, who knows, with a headset, and you can walk around, you know. But this can be done today. The technology exists. Why not? I mean, my kids go to school and the teachers have been given a headset and a webcam. And all the teachers are going to transmit live the entire lessons of the day. So all the students who cannot go to the school will still see their teacher, hear their teacher with the headset, live, real time, from the morning to the evening. Why can't we do it in a meeting?
Yeah. And we're not far, Christopher, to having virtual meeting places as well. I guess this meeting in a couple of years maybe would be in a virtual meeting room, where, as you said, we will be wearing masks, having some screen on the eyes, and we'll have a view of the entire body of each person in a context, in a room that probably will come very soon. Yes.
Yes, 100%. I agree, and it's needed, because what the points that were raised were spot on. You communicate. 80% of the communication is not the spoken word. We all know that. It's given. So it's the context, the body language, the posture, everything, you know. Unfortunately, the touch still, we cannot do it for now, but I'm a person who communicates a lot through touch. It's been a big problem for me through COVID. But long story short, I think there's another version and another add-on to what David was saying. I loved hearing the arts skill sets being brought into the business picture. I love it because it creates synergies and a new way of doing things. In fact, I took notes even, you know, to invite arts people to train us in drama, new ways of communication and expressions. It's fantastic, definitely. Another point I would like maybe to just point out without taking too much time is completely different, but it also brings two different types of businesses together. One is the cash-rich business, typical cash-rich business that has seen its business decimate, which is hospitality. So hospitality are still sitting, some of them, you know, on piles of cash. They cannot do anything with them. And then there's other businesses that, like, you know, SMEs that still are going on. They have a niche market, they have a captive market, but their customers or them, they don't have enough resources or access to finance because of all the due diligence and KYCs and what's not now. So imagine someone who needs cash, someone who has cash. This guy has business, this guy has no business. Bring them together, use this cash, use this business, and create strengths and synergies for them too. So the arts, cash rich, cash poor, some has bring everything together, and the chambers, and they are perfectly perfect melting pots where these come to cluster together as functional, new functional business units. That's my comments on that.
Chris, I think this is extremely interesting, also because there is research which points to the fact that adequate communication skills are, let's say, a necessary prerequisite to attract investment. So when investors sort of assess where they're going to put their money, so to speak, proper communication skills, including verbal communication skills, are one of the criteria which determine the success or otherwise of that collaboration. So I think it's very interesting how the two aspects can actually come together. Touching just a little bit upon what has already been mentioned, the issue of intercultural sensitivity and how challenging that is through digital means. How are we going to go about this? Because I think on a face-to-face basis, we are all relatively sensitive to these differences, and we all prepare ourselves to be able to adequately cater for these differences. But do we forget that we have these differences when we're behind the screen?
On the score, we have been talking about intercultural preparedness for quite a while now, and this was before COVID. And this was not really about intercultural connection, because we are going to have to communicate with our international counterparts on Zoom or Skype or Teams, whatever. It was because Malta has, for the last serious number of years now, become seriously cosmopolitan, with people from different races, different religions, different countries, different beliefs, and different work ethics, ethical standards. And we were, I think, as a country, too busy filling in our production lines, if you like, with people, whether they be in services, manufacturing, or retail, and not realizing that whilst we were doing that, which was good, we were not quite preparing the international person to the Maltese culture, and worse off, not preparing the Maltese to the international, to the different culture that now is forming part of one's workplace or one's entertainment space. And we, at some stage, took some, dramatic, maybe positions in trying to defend our culture as being the one and only as this way because you're in our country. The reality is that most of the inefficiencies that existed in businesses before COVID partly happened because there was a lack of teamwork, a lack of alignment, a lack of commonality and vision between the different parts of the engine, which included people who had different beliefs and different religions and different cultures. So we were pleading to government at the time to invest in systems such as this. We're also pleading to our members to invest in the need for this in their HR. Unfortunately, because we were too busy with our economy until the end of last year or beginning of this year, this was certainly a very low-ranking priority in what it is that we did and what actions we should take from an HR or business efficiency point of view. Clearly now, here we are, rather slow in what we do. Our economy is, of course, slower. We have time to think. We're, of course, thinking of internationalization as being a very important route to develop our economy. And, of course, talking about not only speaking to the English or to the Italians or to the Spanish, who probably are people we understand a bit more because we have had much more interaction, but we're dealing with other cultures that we need to learn how to live with and how to relate to. And, of course, doing it over a medium, which is way harder than doing it interpersonally. So the need is there, even if we are ever jabbed and ever vaccinated and therefore immune to COVID, and COVID is part of our history books, let's say. I doubt this was going to happen, but let's say that's going to happen. Still, the need for us to use this time to invest in the appreciation of, in the education of, and therefore in the support of multicultural societies is actually very important. As a chamber, concluding with this, as a chamber, I have been harping on the need to have our boards and our council well represented by women, yeah, because the chamber has historically been dominated by men, and we are making serious headway. So we have seen the serious influence of women on whatever the chamber has been doing in the last couple of months, and maybe one of the reasons why the chamber has been rather good at what it did. But now that is not enough. We are talking about chambers of commerce that truly represents the cultural, the multi-interest, if that is the term, multi-interest composition of our business community. And that does not only include women, but also includes people who are international or have different cultural beliefs, certain different religions, certain different priorities and values. Because those today, whether we like it or not, is what it forms part of the melting pot of what our economy looks like today and what our economy will develop into tomorrow. And unless we are sensitive to address those needs and mold those needs and direct those needs and lobby appropriately, then we will lag behind, the vision and the mission, and therefore the actual objectives of our country.
Mr. Alvarez, I think this element of intercultural preparedness is very much present in the work of your organization.
Sure, and I will concur with David in saying, well, I would like to add that Malta actually has great advantages compared to other European countries in that internationalization skills. When your minister came to Ghana a few months ago, the Minister of Economy, Mr. Silvio, he stated something that surprised me. I didn't realize that you are now the only country in Europe that use English as an official language now that the Brexit has happened, right?
Oh.
That's the language, obviously, of international business, the most commonly used, and you know how to use it much better than other countries where it becomes, where it is a second language. You have your cultural melting pot, surely. I think you are very open to international business, much more than other countries. I'm thinking of France. I'm a French. It's not a criticism or anything, but French people, when they export themselves, you recognize them easily. It's hard for them to change their accents. They are coming from a very strong cultural frame sometimes that makes the interaction with other people very difficult. In Spain, we don't speak very friendly English. Our accent is very strong. It's sometimes difficult to get understood. I think Malta has a very great advantage in having English as a first official language, as the official language. Sorry. You also are in a very geostrategic position. You are in the middle of, you are at the center of Europe, Middle East, Africa, open to these three regions with great ambitions and possibilities. I really do believe that Malta has a card to play on that, and is probably a step ahead of other European countries in internationalizing the business. I really do.
Great. What's your reaction to all of this? You're nodding, so I'm assuming you're agreeing.
I am agreeing. I've traveled to Ghana many times, and I found a culture where I could interact immediately. This is from experience. I felt at home from day one. We have a similar value system. We speak English, so both countries as a second language, as was mentioned. And I found it extremely easy. WhatsApp or messages are replied immediately, emails as well, help from authorities. I found a good representation in the High Commission. So honestly, any business that Ghana, Malta wants to do business with both countries, use each country as a stepping stone. It's there. And here we have two organizations, the IBO and the Chamber, that are central together with other organizations and our diplomatic representations that are really there to help us. I found a lot of help. Why shouldn't others? So that is really, really, I encourage everyone to look at this. Internationalization is key. I mean, we have to. we cannot stay, in one place nowadays, even if it is to spread the risk. So based on that, I think I can thank as well on my behalf for this opportunity, and it's lovely to share these thoughts and ideas, and I hope that they are of help to anyone listening to this series of programs.
And you inspire most, Chris, as well, because I know that through each and every challenge you find an opportunity. And I think even as a closing remark, perhaps, thinking going forward now for most businesses, rather than let's find new ways of collaborating together. Let's, like Xuereb mentioned, and even Mr. Celestino, but basically if we find the opportunities between and across different industries, perhaps even across different countries, it's true, it's difficult and it's going to take us long. So we really need a deep, long breath, because it's not going to go away anytime soon. But rather than looking backwards, let's keep on moving forward. Small steps
100%.
at the same, small little steps, but at least we're moving forward instead of backwards. Perhaps a closing remark from yourself, Mr. David Xuereb.
First of all, thank you for the invite. I certainly liked Chris's point about the need for internationalization. It comes natural to some, but I dare say not so natural to many. And I'm being frank and honest. And I certainly, as Chris, appeal to all of those who are listening to us to consider internationalization as a necessity. It will not be easy, and it will not be fast either. It needs time. But investment in internationalization in areas which offer help, and Ghana certainly is one of them, where Remote is very, very connected with Ghana, is a step in the right direction if one is looking at the sustainability and resilience of one's business. Without that, assuming that business growth is going to happen solely from local consumption is very short-lived. And we need to steer away from the comfort of the very strong economy we enjoyed over the last 5 to 6 years, and look at the need of us being able to use technology, but also to reach out to all those many more opportunities out there in a manner which is supported. And that's why Trade Malta is there to support businesses do exactly that. That's why the Chamber of Commerce is there. Trade Malta has the partnership that we have with government, so we're really pretty much in that. And any time spent in the investment in internationalization, although sounding daunting and maybe difficult in the beginning, is actually quite an interesting route. It's actually enriching to any person, and very positive when one is able to break ground and sign the first deal, the first contract. After that, after having broken into the relationships and developed the trust levels that one expects with the support of the people that matter, then it becomes a truly enriching and positive experience. Looking back, one would not want to think any other way.
Thank you, Xuereb. Mr. Celestino.
Well, very much willing and happy to assist in the trade relations between Ghana and Malta. You are very lucky here. You have a very good Chamber of Commerce of Malta and Ghana. You have a great ambassador, Jean-Claude, who is doing an excellent job. He knows the country so well. He is of help for sure for any trade activities that Malta may have in Ghana. The business forum that happened a few months ago was extremely positive and conclusive. The first contact and trust was taken effectively physically. Now we have to build on that with the tools we have, with virtual communications and follow up using electronic tools. This is what we are left with, and hopefully we'll use that to the best. We'll increase our skills in that, and we will be able to close business in the same way we used to call it, to close it when we were using all our senses.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you, Roberto.
Very much to you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
There are challenges that also precede COVID.
Businesses that do not adapt to changing situations, they fall down.
Ghana always offers opportunity to the outside world.